everybody. Thank you for joining us today. This is the Sacred Media Group, and I'm your host, Diva Lee Evans. And today we have a beautiful lady from the other side of the world, from Houston, because we're in Australia. And she has an amazing story to tell about her trials and tribulations, her successes, her failures. And I will just keep quiet as much as I can and let Ash tell you her story, and hopefully you'll get something out of it too. Hi, Ash. How are you going?
Hi. Thank you so much for having me, Devalee. I have to say it was quite an honor and very humbling for you to ask for me to do this today. So thank you so much for that. I guess I will start off by telling everyone. So currently I am a board certified natural wellness practitioner, and something that I specify in is frequency medicine. That's what I do in my business, which is House of Wellness. So I'm located in Corpus Christi, actually, in the Coastal Bends. So those are some of my credentials currently. And I don't know how you want to get into the story of everything. So I guess I'll
just start wherever you want to, Ashley. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this. So you just go for it. I might pop in with questions.
Sure. So, I mean, my healing journey started with being sick, obviously. That's where it really begins. I have to take it all the way back to being right. So I had to take it all the way back to being in the military, because before that I was, very healthy. I never had any kind of issues whatsoever. So I spent 4 years in the military. I'm a combat veteran. I was in the Army. I did a tour in Afghanistan. So, and with that, I guess I really have to explain the exposure to lots and lots of, things of that nature. When you're in the military, before you deploy, you receive anywhere from 18 to 30 of these. And this was back in like 2008. So we're talking pre-pandemic, jabs and whatnot, which, doesn't really matter because they're all, terrible for you. So, I really noticed a few things maybe a couple of years afterwards within my body that wasn't normal. I noticed that I couldn't really retain nutrients properly. I just would find that I would get cramps in my legs. I wasn't holding electrolytes properly, right? And I was an athlete, and I was constantly putting, good nutrition in my body, but it was like my body was not holding on to it or, keeping it. So anyways, fast forward, I got out of the military. My husband and I had our first child together, and that was beautiful, a beautiful experience. It went really well. 5 years later, when we got pregnant with our second child, that was whenever my world just really fell apart. And, halfway into the pregnancy, I started experiencing times when I would, pass out or almost pass out. I would have just a very dizzy feeling, just very strange and awkward things. I could no longer tolerate heat, couldn't be outside in the heat like I, was able to before. Just a lot of things, cognitive issues, hormonal imbalance for sure. Just all kinds of weird things that I had never experienced before. Eventually they pinpointed it down to a vision issue. I had double vision for 3 years. I was getting new glasses every month. It was just really absurd. Eventually my husband did kind of get tired of me. I say that jokingly because when somebody is ill and it's all stuff that's going on the inside, and people are looking at you at the outside and they're like, well, you look fine, what's really going on? Eventually people are just kind of like, what's going on with this person? You know what I mean? So, and that is what it looked like, because everything was internal. It was an internal struggle for sure, Mm-hmm. So about 3 years I dealt with that, the double vision and whatnot. So it wasn't until my husband got a job down here in the Coastal Bend in Corpus Christi that was kind of when my life changed and everything really started to come out for me as far as what was going on with me and, the next steps in my healing journey. So
what were the things that came out for you? How did everything sort of come to a crescendo there?
Well, so a couple of things. Being in the sun, for one, being at the beach and being in the sun, that started to make me feel so much better because as we should know, we need the sun, right? We need the vitamin D. We need that for our body, for our gut health, right? I was suffering with a lot of gut health issues for sure and was really unaware of what they were, but just suffering, right? Trying every diet I could imagine to get there, to get well. I mean, if it's out there, I've tried it. I can guarantee you that. So, but what really came to a head was whenever I was introduced to this amazing energy healer named Karen Wilson, and I had my first session with her, and I had never, experienced Reiki or energy healing, and something was said in that session and it was, you've got to put yourself first. I just remember that portion particularly, along with a few other things, but it was like, you've got to put yourself first. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that because this has gone on too long and I need to put myself first. So I went to see, because I thought, well, if it's my eyes, maybe it's something, spinal, maybe, something there. So I went to see a spine specialist. And this was the first time that somebody had taken images of my head or, any part of my body. So that was whenever they found that I had a cyst on my pineal glands. So that was kind of the beginning of, figuring out what was going on with me. So, and with that, I would like to add too, when I was in the military, they love to give dental work, right? It's free dental work. Everybody come and get it. Well, they're giving you mercury fillings. Yeah. So I, accepted that, not knowing, what any of that was at the time. I just thought, hey, I'm getting, free dental work, just like everybody else that lines up, to get that. So I had 7 amalgam fillings, in my mouth. And as we know now, these fillings constantly leach into the tissues and then they come up here. So I really believe, and after asking several other people that had this particular type of surgery, they said the same thing. I asked them, do you have amalgam fillings in your mouth? And 95% of them did. So, I mean, I can draw my own conclusion as, any other educated person can, I would assume,
Yep. There are so many people out there with digestive issues and nobody ever puts those things that you get in your arm and the heavy metals that are in there and your gut.
Right, because they settle into the gut.
Treating our gut with kid gloves, I think. It's just like, what is it? Is it 80 or 90% of our immune system comes from our gut, how healthy our gut is or not?
Absolutely, it does. And the gut-brain connection. I mean, your gut is your second brain. They're connected. They're communicating with each other constantly. So if you have poor gut health, you're going to have, brain fog. You're going to have all kinds of cognitive issues and things going on upstairs as well. So yeah, I mean, it was all, pretty symbiotic. It was all happening for a reason, and so from there, I found the top neurosurgeon in the world to do this surgery because it's really the most invasive brain surgery that you can have.
Do you want me to put up a photo for a minute?
Sure.
Do you want me to put up a photo for a minute? The one on the hospital bed or the one of your head?
You can show the back of the head. That picture would be fine.
It's going to go over us, so it might throw you a little bit, but
okay. So yeah, that was my scar from my surgery where they went in through the back of my head. They had to go, obviously, because the pineal gland is at the center base of the skull, right? So it's in there. They had to go in between the cerebellum and the cerebrum to get access to that, to extract the cyst that was on the pineal glands. So yeah, that was just a few days after surgery.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll take it off now. Is this you recovering? Do you want the other one on the hospital bed
Sure,
recovering?
you can. That was actually being wheeled in. So
Oh.
yeah, it was right before the surgery, and I have to say,
How nervous were you to have an operation on your brain?
well, it's funny that you asked that. So we can get into some spiritual talk when we go this direction. So actually, I slept like a baby the day before the surgery, and I was thoroughly impressed with that because I couldn't imagine, that anybody would. But so during that session, that first Reiki session or energy healing session, a family member that was from the other side kind of came to me and they told me, "You're going to be okay." So that just stayed with me, and I knew that I was going to be okay. And that was all the comfort that I really needed in that situation. So I slept the night before because I knew I was going to be okay. And it was just something that I had to walk through to get to the other side. And after what I had gone through for like 3 years, it was worth it to walk through that.
Yeah, wow. I had a tumor on my liver, and my second elder sister passed away probably just a couple of months before. And she came to me. I was drying my hair one day. We were actually away and we were staying in a hotel. And she came up behind me and she says, "You have a tumor on your liver. Now, what are you going to do about it?" And I said, "Do whatever is natural, and she went, like this.
You should have asked her, "Well, tell me what to do about it."
Yeah, just it's amazing how we get spiritual help, and it's amazing when we open up ourselves enough. I mean, she was completely 100% right. It's amazing.
Right. Yeah. We just have to kind of get quiet and listen because it will come for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was a really amazing experience that, somebody did come to me and they told me you're going to be okay. So I had the ability to, really go forward. My husband was probably more of a wreck than I was. So
of course,
honestly,
it's always worse being on the one looking on. It's like the men watching their women go through childbirth, that must be so difficult to do. I actually went in the room when my daughter was giving birth to our grandson, and it's extremely hard to watch when it's somebody you love there. You just want to take all the pain away, put it on you or something, especially when it's kids. Yeah. So it's not easy for anybody on the outside looking in, and they don't have your trust. They don't know how much that you've resolved yourself to, this is going to be fine. This is absolutely, it's no problem.
Right.
And that's why you would have gotten through it too, because you had that attitude.
Yeah. Absolutely. For sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
from there, it became.
No, you're right. Keep going. No, go ahead.
So from there, I started, recovery, which, with brain surgery, it's a little slow at first. And then when I picked up the pace and made some progress, and I realized at that point, I was like, okay, I didn't get here overnight. So, this tumor or this cyst that was there, it was there for a reason to alert me of everything else that was going on in my body. So it was time to pick up the pace and start examining everything else. I actually had a good high school friend of mine who introduced me to a holistic practitioner that was located in Dallas. And so we drove 6 hours to go and see her. And that was how I got introduced to frequency medicine, Rife therapy, and things of that nature, because that's what she did in her clinic. But I lived 6 hours away, so I couldn't come and see her as often as I needed to. So I asked her, I said, well, how does one, get to the point where they can operate this thing? And she said, well, you need to enroll in this school. And after so many years, then I could teach you whatever. So I went home and I enrolled in the school. I looked on Marketplace and I bought my first Rife machine, and I just got after it. So, I just decided that I was going to teach myself and do it for myself. I was taking my power, my health into my own hands and taking back my power to be healthy. So
absolutely, that liberation is the most important, I think, that we can do for ourselves. Does your Rife machine, does it have the ability to, when it picks up different diseases, it can, so it's like a diagnostic machine too?
Yeah, so it does a biofeedback scan, which is really fantastic because it can take a lot of the guesswork out of the situation, right? So if the body is, really abundant with a particular, virus, bacteria, fungus, what have you, it's definitely going to pick that up and it's going to hone in on that. And so then you take those frequencies and you apply them, in a healing session. So yeah, it's fantastic. And then, there's so many other things that you can do with it too. It's really an incredible piece of technology that's been around for a very long time, so.
Yeah, well, I think, did they kill the guy that invented it? Did they?
There's lots of, I've heard that as well. Along, all the conspiracy theories that are out there, but I'm sure there's a little bit of seed of truth in that, information for sure. They may have done that. I know they took his, his patent, they took his technology, just like they did to Tesla. They took it all. And so.
Yep. And the guy with the orgonite, the one that invented or found, not invention, is it really? It's finding older modalities. They happenstance across it. And the orgonite guy, he was thrown in jail.
Really?
He wouldn't stop making them or trying to stop, the EMFs and stuff like that. So they jailed him and he died in jail. He died in prison. Kate Bush's song, she's got a song about that, and I can't quite remember. I can't remember the name of the title now, but yeah, we're going up that hill. And like he's pushing his machine up the hill so he can, clear all the EMFs from around in his community. But yeah, they got rid of him too.
Yeah. Well, that's the name of their game, right? So
yep.
That's what they do. And that's why, we're living in a society that we're living in. Everyone they're sick and they're tired and they're on pharmaceutical medications that just block the feeling of being sick and tired temporarily while the root cause is still embedded in the body and manifesting and, just getting out of control. So
that's right. Yep. Well, they're not only sick and tired, but they're very, very fearful because they're feeding into all the fear, the fear porn that's being put out there too. So when you do get sick and tired of something, if there's a little bit of fear in there that keeps you going on that particular path, then you'll take it, won't you? So absolutely.
And I do believe it has a lot to do with programming of, that doctors are the end all be all and they have the highest say. And it's kind of that God mentality of, they know everything and what they say is right. And you shouldn't question that. And that is a very big, that's programming that's out there. And, that's where people are at with that. So, but that's where education comes into play and talking about stuff like this to plant a seed so that people can look into things in another way.
Yes, exactly. And if you aren't getting better in the medical community, just to try something else, just to try even supplements, to go and visit somebody in your health store, that can give you a key to helping you to unlock the answers that you've been looking for to helping you with your own health. And you have to be involved in it too, don't you? It's not just, okay, I'm going to go to a naturopath and they're going to make me feel so much better. You've got to get on that and you've got to work yourself because there's always emotions there that are traps that are helping you to create the lifestyle that you've got that you don't want. So you've got to learn to change your thinking, to change your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in holistic medicine, I guess kind of the mantra is the 3 T's. You have toxins, you have trauma, and you have thoughts, right? All of these 3 things combined are what is going to set you up for success, right? We got to look at the toxins. What do we have here? We have viruses, we have bacteria, we have funguses, we have all of these things that we need to take a look at, right? And then we need to check our thoughts. How are we thinking when we get up and we are, starting off our day, and talking to your body, right? You are a sovereign being. You have power over your own body. The words that you speak and the thoughts in your mind are how your cells in your body are going to behave. People just have a real disconnect with the body, I think, the body and the mind. And then we have to address traumas, right? So, these traumas they get stuck in our body, they get stuck in our field. There's a lot of science that's left out of healing and whatnot, like, quantum physics and people understanding what their body really is and how it projects out into the world, that you're more than just a physical body. You are an emotional body, you are a mental body, and you are a spiritual body. And all of those things have to be addressed when we are healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So, how are you completely well now, or are you still working on it? Is there any after effects that you're working on yourself? Or
Sure. I think we're all still working on being well, right? Especially when we've been in a position where we've been that sick. And, we've had a ton of these, and those things are really embedded in the tissues, in the body and stuff like that. It takes a while to heal the body, to extract those things. When it takes a long time to get sick, it takes just as long to heal and get better. So you really have to be ready for that, right? They talk about, healing is a journey. Well, it is, but it's also a committed lifestyle. You have to really commit to wanting to heal and get in there and do the work for as long as it does take, right?
Sometimes you are so tired and you are so ill that you can't work on yourself. But believe me, if I can push through and change my beliefs with the illnesses that I've had, and the same with you, Ash, anybody can do it, even laying in bed as sick as you can be sometimes. And I am still saying, okay, so what do I need to work on now? What's going on now?
Yes.
I had a lump in my breast, and it just came up out of nowhere. And I'd had lumps before, but they were non-cancerous. But this lump was a bit different. So it was like, it felt like a flower or something that was on the outside. So it was pitted, and it wasn't, like the normal lump that I get. And honestly, it came up out of nowhere. And the day that I found it, I went and had a bath. I needed to calm down because I knew what this was. And I talked to it. I said, please show me, why, what have you come to show me?
Right.
Instead of saying, fuck cancer, fuck this, fuck that, excuse my language.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I think, well, you're getting angry at the thing that is trying to alert you that something is wrong and you need to fix it. So why are you saying that? Talk to it. Love it. It's it needs that loving attention. It's trying to show you, hello, something's not going right in your life and you're holding on to it. So hello, exactly. That's why I'm here. And we need to know these the different reasons for cancers, for different what's another disease? I'm so used to saying cancers these days. So like, I don't know, Parkinson's or anything, even just a headache. Yeah. A headache is trying to tell you something that, you're out of balance, come back. And if you don't fix that headaches, it's going to turn into migraines. It's going to leach into other areas of your life and make other things go wrong. Right. So they're the alarm bell, and they're not the enemy. It's so after I sat and spoke lovingly to this lump, it stopped growing, because it was like it had started growing like out of control, and it's stopped growing. And even though it didn't disappear completely, but hadn't gotten to the root of the emotional cause of it. And I did that a few years later. Thank heavens, it's gone completely now. So no doctor intervention, no, nothing. Just good supplements, of course, to keep my body going. Yeah. So you can do it. If I can do it,
Talking to the body.
Can do it. Yeah.
So that makes me think of, have you seen, it's Dr. Masaru Emoto.
Yes.
He talks about how you speak to water and it affects the structure of the water. And if you speak, terrible things to something, you can see the dysfunction, dysfunction of the water. But if you speak lovingly to it, it becomes very structured, like sacred geometry, right? So yeah, it is all about how you talk to your body. That makes me think too of like Louise Hay. I don't know if you've ever seen in her book. She wrote a book about affirmations and speaking to the body and particular pains or this or whatever is going on and what it's connected to emotionally and how to speak affirmations to that to dissolve that. So yeah, we have to look at emotions. They're like the first thing, right? The pain in the body is symptomology of something else going on.
Yeah. And like Dr. Bruce Lipton, he always says, change. What does he say? Change what you're looking at, and what you're looking at will change. So you can't give your sovereignty over to somebody else and expect them to heal you completely. That's exactly right. And that's why it's called holistic healing, because you've got to take all parts of the puzzle and you've got to give them all equal attention. Okay, maybe some need a little bit more attention than others, but the emotions play a big part. Traumas, PTSD plays a big part.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's also my belief that if you don't fix it in this lifetime, then you're going to be dealing with it in the next lifetime, because you have a thing called cellular memories that follow you around from lifetime after lifetime. That's why we come back to heal. It's not as a punishment, but it's to heal what we've done, not healed before.
Yes, that's exactly right. I have the same belief of that as well. So yes, it does. We do have cellular memory. Like even fears and stuff like that from a past life, and you've experienced them in this lifetime, and you think, well, why am I scared of that? Well, maybe it was because of something that happened in a previous life. So yeah, and these are concepts that are not totally out there to everyone. So
no, it's
I feel like you have to, you introduce some of these things, slowly to some, and then some people are ready for it. And that really is just a matter of what frequency they're on, right? So they're going to hear what their, frequency is ready to hear. So.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. It's a difficult process, this human experience. It really is. But once we learn the rules of the game, we've never been taught the rules of the game. It's like we're thrown into this playing field full of bad people, asleep people, people with, just themselves to think about or whatever. And we're expected to navigate it with no memory that we should have been born with. So yeah, we just like thrown to the lions basically. And, good luck if you survive. Once we know we get ourselves out of that fighting ring and we become sovereign again and take control of our own lives.
Yeah. And that's a really great place to be, for sure. And that is just being a living example for others so that they can get out of that as well, right? That's really what we got to do.
How did you feel finding your sovereignty and knowing that you can take control of your health? How did that feel to you?
Well, it's very empowering. Well, first you're kind of like, well, gosh, I wasted a lot of time, right? And I gave my power away to so many people, which is, that can be very discouraging to think about. But then you get past that and you just keep going with it, right? And keep asking the universe to present you with the next bit of knowledge for your growth and for where you need to go next, because that's what you do. You just keep going. And then you give that away to others that need it. That's why we're here, and that's what we're doing, right? So
exactly. Yep, exactly. So would you say that you had an awakening to your spiritual self, or was the healing a part of that? Did you come to, both at the same time, or was there one that started before the other with your spiritual opening and you realizing that you can heal yourself?
yeah, so the cyst and having the brain surgery was definitely the catalyst for me. It was what gave me the expansion, right? It opened that door of expansion for me and for waking up, for sure. And so it's just been a really beautiful ride of all kinds of realizations since then. You know what I mean? So but yeah, it definitely was the catalyst for my awakening to all the things, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, all the systems, the medical system, just go ahead.
Oh, sorry, lost you there for a minute. You've frozen on me. Oh, you're right. You're back.
Oh,
sorry. What did you say? What was that last little bit? I missed it. I don't know whether everybody else did, but
no, just that experience of when I did have my brain surgery, and then that definitely was the catalyst for my expansion and my waking up, for sure. For taking back my sovereignty, for really learning who I was and what I was. And from there, it's just really been a beautiful ride of growing and learning and going deeper and deeper and deeper into all of those things about the spiritual being that I am, and how I'm connected to God, and how I am truly loved by God. And yeah
I think that as a society, if we could realize how much God is in our lives and waiting for you to ask him to help you with things, and it's not in a religious type of way. Spiritual to me is taking control of your spiritual self, whereas religion is giving your power away again to a seemingly higher power.
Absolutely. I agree.
So much esoteric knowledge from us, and so much of our power we've given away to the churches, to the medical fraternity, to the governments, and we just don't realize what we're actually capable of. So, and it's such a special day today. Exactly. I was mentioning that before. It's the 8-8 gateway. So how are you coping with the energies here, Ash? How's it going for you?
That is a very bumpy ride at times. So I am very interested in, and I keep up with solar activity. That's another one of my passions outside of helping people heal, because I think it's so applicable to our lives right now. And I know that that's something that a lot of people don't understand. Probably most people that's watching this do, but so that is a day-to-day thing, right? Like one day you're up and the next day you're down. And it's really part of it, because we are we're integrating so much into our bodies right now that we just have to give ourselves grace, lay down when you need to lay down, drink lots of water, and purge the things you need to purge, right? Like, the emotional things, all the stuff that's really coming out right now, just got to go with it, go with the flow of it, Yeah.
Yep. Exactly right. Well, it's the 9th here in Australia, but it's the 8th there where you are. And on the night of the 7th here, I had Archangel Gabriel and Jesus talking to me. So I just thought, oh, wow. I knew it was going to be, everybody said it was going to be a powerful gateway, this 8-8 this time. And it's certainly proving that to me, because I actually had a vision yesterday of new wiring going in my brain. So I think the codes that are coming through the sun at this time.
Oh, wow.
are really rewiring people's brains, and I'm having a lot of Kundalini movement, a lot of, that snake sort of movement that you feel, different things that
Yes.
happen with the Kundalini. But and this morning I had so many people talking to me in my head all at once. I just thought, okay, guys, I can't cope with this at the moment. So can you just come back later and maybe one at a time? It was incredible. So this doorway has opened through this 8-8 portal. It's just absolute. I wish I could understand what they were saying, but I couldn't, because it was a little too far away and muffled, and there were a lot of
Right.
beings trying to talk to me at the one time. So I can't wait. I'm going to sit down this afternoon and meditate and see what happens for it to come up, because there's always a shadow period with the 8-8
Yes.
or any gateway or full moon or anything like that, and it can be a couple of weeks before the date and a couple of weeks afterwards. So if everybody, write down what you've gotten, and even though it doesn't make sense at the time, I bet you it will in a couple of months' time or even 12 months' time. But this is like a powerful Lions, and because I'm a Leo too.
Oh, that's more. You're a Leo, so I'm an Aquarius. So we are very compatible.
We are.
I do know that. So that's
yeah.
My mom's a Leo too. My husband is a Leo. My very good friend is a Leo. So I'm surrounded by Leos. But I spent the day today. I had to go to the beach and just really spend some time at the beach and and in reflection and prayer and meditation, and because I wanted to really put a lot of things out there and make sure that I was projecting what I want going forward, things that I want to manifest going forward. And then I took my dip in the water so I could cleanse my fields and be ready for this evening. So it's evening for me, it's morning for you.
Yeah, so we started at 6 p.m. your time, and it was 9 a.m. our time. So, and it's summer there, so boiling hot there, and it's winter here. But because we're in the subtropics of Australia, so we're on the eastern side of Australia, but up north, so it's subtropical. It's beautiful. We have lots of beautiful beaches here and everything too, so there's no excuses. We have beautiful hinterland on one side, and then like long beautiful sandy beaches on the other side. So we're very lucky here, very, very lucky.
We're very blessed to be where we are too. It's very healing to be by the water to me. I really couldn't imagine being anywhere else, and if I'm not going to go anywhere else unless it's by a body of water, some ocean water. So I'm here.
Fantastic. Best place to be. I love the beach. I actually I had an Indian astrologer who told me, she said, you need to write books, and when you're writing the books you need to be by the water. And we the water's just there, but we're not waterfront, we're on the opposite side of the road, but it's beautiful. And we go for a walk every morning down by where all the yachts and everything are, and it's wonderful.
That's wonderful. I mean, that's healing in itself, right? That's part of holistic healing right there.
Yep. The salty water, the silica sand and everything like that. So and there's so much silica in the sand over here in Australia. It's just like pure white. Wow. And it shines like diamonds in the summertime because there's so much silica in the sand. It's just amazing.
I bet that is beautiful.
Good
for you guys. That's wonderful that you have access to that.
Absolutely. I wouldn't live anywhere else at the moment. It's fantastic.
I understand.
So where are you at the moment with your health, or is there anything new that you want to talk about as far as things that you found for your practice that's working for other people?
Well, so as far as my health goes, I'm doing wonderful. I am in a wonderful place as compared to where I used to be. It's definitely still a journey. Something that I really am still focusing on is, detoxification. And I think that that's pretty essential for everybody, right? We need to be detoxing our bodies. And certainly parasite detoxing twice a year and things of that nature. So, those are things that I still do for myself and I do for clients. A lot of people need to have it. I'm sorry?
What's your parasite cleanse protocol? Is it the olive
oil?
Well,
I kind of experiment. Yeah, I experiment with a few different types of parasite cleanse. One of the things that I really love is zeolites. I use a lot of zeolite with myself, with my kids, with my clients. That is a very, very good heavy metal detox, right? And parasites love heavy metals, so we got to get rid of the heavy metals while we're getting rid of the parasites. And while it's not a very nice conversation, right? I think a lot of people are very oblivious to the fact that we have parasites, right? And they're everywhere. They're on everything. So, and why we don't talk more about parasite cleanses and offer those for ourselves, but we do for our pets is kind of bizarre to me, right? So. Yeah, that information really needs to be put out there because that is one of the reasons why people are struggling with chronic illness because they have these chronic infections in their body. And then, doctors will go and put an autoimmune disease label on that. And there's solutions, there's ways to fix this stuff. But anyways, so yeah, there's some herbal blends that I really like to use and certain product lines that I like to use. I'm a big fan of Global Healing's Paratex. I love that one. I use another guy, his name is Dr. Moore's, his herbs. They're very high frequency, potent herbs. And I've had a lot of really good results with his products when it comes to parasite detox. So I like to do a combination of the zeolites and those particular herbs, for those type of infections. So I recommend, if anybody is going to do these types of things, number one, if you can contact a holistic practitioner to help guide you, I would recommend doing that before anything, right? Because you can do some things to, hurt yourself more than help yourself if you really don't know what you're doing. So, but you always want to take a binder when you're doing these things, right? Because we can disrupt and we can kind of shake the tree, if you will, and loosen a lot of things up. And if we're not putting a binder in the body to usher these things out, we can really hurt ourselves. And, we can get things like Herxheimer reaction and stuff like that. And we don't have to go through that to that degree. So I always recommend some type of guidance.
Do you use clay or do you use chlorella, or what is the binder that you use?
So zeolite is a really fantastic binder as well. So let me explain it. Yes, it's like, zeolite and castor oil are two of my favorite things in the whole wide world. They're like one of those that, they do so many things, everybody should have them at home for sure. But in explaining zeolite and what it does on a molecular structure, so disease and stuff in the body has a positive charge. Zeolite has a negative charge. So when it is put into the body, these two things come together and the zeolite ushers it out of the body. So that's what makes it a binder.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So if there are any mothers out there or just anyone who would like to get a kit together, what would you recommend as a first aid kit for people, as far as parasites or colds or anything like that, that you would have just in your cupboard that you can take yourself, rather than getting on antibiotics, right, taking parasite cleansers from the pharmacy that are just poisons for your system anyway. And normally our animals can take a lot of the natural ones that we take, so you don't have to be poisoning them either.
Right.
So would you recommend? A little first aid.
Instead of antibiotics, I would recommend things like colloidal silver. That's a really good thing to take if you've got any type of, if you see like a viral, a cold, something like that coming on. Definitely some colloidal silver is great. And they have it in, children's doses. You can find these things in places like natural grocers and, more of your granaries and your health food stores and stuff like that. They have the zeolites. They have like sprays that are really good for kiddos. If we start talking about kiddos, we really need to talk about detoxification for kiddos. I mean, that is pretty imperative these days, right? We have an overabundance of children that have autism, that have ADD, that have all of these other things, labeled on them. And the problem is not really that they have these things. The problem is they're not being detoxified, but they're being poisoned constantly by, foods that they eat, water that they eat, the pesticides and herbicides that are on, fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. These kids are really dealing with a lot of oxidative stress, and that is what is putting them in these positions of having these labels. And so not to say that there are some kids that maybe, really are that far on the spectrum with those things, but a lot of kids really just need some detoxification. So we need to do that for kiddos too. And there are appropriate doses and ways to do that for them too. Like I said, they do have zeolites and stuff like that you can use on children. They do have doses of herbs that you can, parasite detox these, kids, because they're dealing with these things too. And, a lot of times parents are like, well, my kid won't settle down and they're doing this and they're doing that. Well, they're dealing with these things on the inside. They're not getting proper nutrition because these guys are eating all of their nutrition. Their systems are bogged down with all of these things too. So that's why, you do encounter behavioral issues and whatnot. So yeah, the kiddos can't be left out when it comes to detoxification and all of these things. There's a lot of moms out there talking about their kids have gone on a zeolite detox and they were nonverbal, and within like 5 days, they're speaking, they're saying words. So, these kiddos, they're dealing with a lot of heavy metals, and especially, kids that were on scheduled, from birth and, went through all of those things because it's the thing to do. It's what most mothers think that they're supposed to do with their kids, right? And so then we put these things in their bodies, but we also have, moms that might be pretty toxic and don't realize they are toxic before they're giving birth. And these are also things that get passed down too. So, we are living in generations of toxicity and people being toxic, and we're passing it down. So, those are my recommendations, that kiddos need this type of care too, as
Yeah,
so
exactly. And that's one of the dangers of giving all your power away to the medical fraternity, because they don't tell you this. It's just. I mean,
we do things.
I was actually reading.
We do things because
hundreds. Oh, sorry, Ash. We do have like a big lag. We have a lag.
Yes, it's a little bit.
So it's a little bit funny. So sorry, everybody. And I don't mean to be talking over Ash, but I think she's finishing, and then I start to talk. But what was I going to say? I've forgotten what I was going to say now. So you go. After all,
it happens, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just my one thing that I really specify in my practice is detoxification, because I really think that that's where it needs to begin. So when somebody comes to me and they are just broke down, there is a process that I like to look at of, well, what's going on in the body? What is bogging the body down? And we need to get those things out so then we can start to repair. So that's my methodology, because that's my experience too. I've seen it, I've lived it firsthand, and then I see it going on with so many. So
yeah, no, that's great. It's just so important for parents now to start taking control of their health and their children's health, and researching before you go and have any procedures done yourself or having your kiddos done too. So please just, that's the first major step in taking your power back. And we've got the internet there now, so you can research.
Yes.
Are there natural cures for this before you take your child to a doctor? Because you know, if you
Yes.
know that if you know what it is, doctors are good for, sometimes they're good for diagnosing, but then even Rife machines can diagnose too, and then be set up to that particular frequency to help knock out whatever that, you know, whatever has come up, whatever the diagnosis was. So, it's not always an invasive treatment that you need. You can probably 90% of our healing journey is not invasive. The only invasive thing really that I would find with the healing naturally is the detox. But it's like Ash said, if you have the binder there, then that can help to quash, you know, some of the detox symptoms that you get.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so do you do consultations by Skype or?
I do. Yes, I do. I will do consultations by Skype. I do. And obviously see people within the office. But yeah, if somebody wants to contact me and do some type of consultation by Skype, that'd be fantastic. So I can guide them through what they need to do. We can talk about some of their symptomology and things like that and just kind of, and get them started on some things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ash, I think we should do this more often if you're okay with this, just to keep abreast of.
I would love to.
And you can suggest a few that we could be taking, you know, like if winter and cold season comes around, you know, springtime with sinuses and things like that. Different, even if we just like pick a healing modalities, you know, and go through that each you to explain, who's a professional, and takes us through how things actually happen. I mean, you don't ever, how long are you in a doctor's office for? 5-10 minutes, and then you're kicked out the door and somebody else is coming in. So whereas that's another thing with our natural therapies and our beautiful therapists like Ash, they take their time. You know, they give you an hour probably sometimes to go right through everything that's wrong with you. The doctors just ask you, okay, what's wrong today? They don't go through your background and check, you know, what's causing this to start with. So I think that if we could actually,
you know, doctors used to, I mean, this was many, many years ago, but when you would go and see a doctor would look at your fingernails. They would look at, you know, your skin. They would look at the face. They would look at the tongue. They would look at the body, the eyes, you know, because all of these things, you know, there's information in all of these things, right? So but they don't do stuff like that anymore.
Yes, exactly. Yep, exactly. Oh, look, this is fantastic, Ash. And we're nearly out of time now, but so do you want to tell us where everybody can contact you?
Yes.
Tell us about your beautiful that you've got up. And
yeah, so my website obviously has been scrolling at the bottom of the page. You know, anybody can contact me by going to my website, and then you can obviously give me a call. And then we can set up an appointment, whether it's somebody coming into the office or if they want to do something via Skype and talk about some things and see if we can get them going on their own personal healing journey. So.
Oh, fantastic. Beautiful. Beautiful then. Well, maybe we'll try and get together once a month and see what's new, see what's up and coming. You know, we can both do some research and see what is new and up and coming. There are a lot of things that are being released into the public now that the public aren't aware of course, because mainstream media don't advertise anything that's natural and progressive, progressive in a healing way. But so let's try and do that and see what we come up with for next time.
I would love that. That would be great.
I would love it too. Absolutely.
Just okay. Well. Rolling.
Exactly. Yep. And it'll keep us on top of our game too, because then we can keep on top of new things coming because we research it and then share it with everybody else. So it's a win-win. Beautiful, Ashley. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for joining us. If you stay there, I'll just sign off from everybody
Thank you.
else. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank
joining
you.
us today. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks, guys, for listening. Bye for now.